Let me say first that I've taken classes in public speaking uh, and trying to do extemporaneous speaking, and it pretty much failed. And maybe I'm just hardwired introvert, or just I'm a lot better face to face. But I kind of script these things, and I don't sound very good, but I still try to get the points across. But I kind of use Twitter for brainstorming, and I kind of link them together with the headlines, and that's what I want to do here. Uh, the Me Too movement, the Kick Vic movement, Force Out Hate. Force Out Hate is against Rebel Force Radio specifically. EVS has proven that pretty much, and Kick Vic is against Vic Lasagna, whatever his name is. Uh, but the Green New Deal, and none of these movements would exist without Twitter and the shilling popular media sites picking up on the hype. This is how liberals have been programmed to break the system, like the Democrats had their Kavanaugh circus, to make daily life a minefield, make fandom escapism again without all the politics. But you got people like Jason Ward and people at and Brian Young and the Star Wars fans that are kind of see themselves as the leadership for fandom, and they're throwing around accusations, and you can't be a Star Wars fan online without stepping into that minefield and having to join a faction that believes one thing or another, and make Star Wars escapism again without the politics and garbage. And liberals lie on Twitter to promote fake news and try to kiss the ring to hope to get noticed for their 15 minutes of fame, while vilifying border control, anti-trafficking trade, anti-drug efforts, and as NFL players compare their team owners to slave owners and kneel during the anthem. And here's kind of how it starts. It's not racism, but how denying racism reproduces its violence. The anti-racist social media immediately noted prevalent minimization as accompanied the rise of the alt-right, election of Trump, and that's pretty much how they're going after Trump, is to create these hashtags and activism by throwing out the accusations, all the isms, sexism, racism in daily life. Go after your coworker, go after the guy that doesn't like shipping. If somebody does, and somebody mentions that they wish that two characters in a TV show would get together, and you want somebody else to get together with that character, and you should send them death threats on Twitter or something. It all it's all the same mindset. It it's just a minefield, you know, minefield right there. Uh, and here, identity politics are leading to racially self-segregated dorms and parties. Race-based dorms emerging across the country to help keep people in their safe zones. The idea of a safe zone, they have to retreat, and higher education never been more diverse, yet still deeply divided. and that produces thinking like Brie Larson. Her anti-patriarchy mentions and uh, the way she's trying to market Captain Marvel as it's not for males, it's for women only, and all this propaganda about how little girls should be into it, should be little white girls should look up to her and stuff and worship her and all this, and it's just garbage.
Because Miss Amanat thinks that she could put things down the Orwellian memory hole, but she can't. So if you're not familiar with who she is at Marvel, she wants to turn Marvel into a lifestyle brand. And she, quite some time ago, she was making weird sorts of tweets about, quote, interbreeding and how brown will rule with type laughter, saying one day we will all be brown. So you have an interesting combination between Brie Larson and her weird obsession with white men, and then you have Sana Amanat meeting together. Sana Amanat, the one who is weirdly talking about how the world will one day all be brown, because that's what she wants. And so when they come together, they have to talk about the patriarchy. Now ask yourself, if you were in an interview, if I was in an interview, if I was part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and the doorbell rang during it, what if I were to say, ho ho ho, that must be the matriarchy? I wouldn't do that. That would be downright weird. Ask yourself how Robert Downey Jr. has gone for over a decade or whatever it's been. No weirdo controversies. Ask yourself about DC and Warner Brothers and how Wonder Woman went off without a hitch. All these people, there's all these guys doing little videos on Twitter. Some guy who calls himself a Comic-Con humanitarian, threatening to sue guys like Ethan Van Sciver and weird things because he doesn't understand fair use. Saying, oh, why are all these people going after Brie Larson? I don't understand it. Well, this is exactly why right here.
Let's see. So you get some of that racial stuff that, you know, they're self-segregating and they're, you know, making jokes like they're taking over the world and stuff. And, you know, then you get stuff like this. Camelia Harris thinks sex work should be decriminalized. Supports making sex work legal across the country. There's an ecosystem around that includes crimes that harm people. For these issues, I do not believe that anybody who hurts another human being should be. But then you're talking about consenting adults and no one is harmed. Well, let's see. What you get when you do that is you get self-segregation, and then you start decriminalizing, and you get people that are bred specifically for that, like that family business. Just like slave trade used to be family business, you know. It's a resurgence of the slave trade. You know, they're speaking about how they want empowerment and all this stuff, and at the same time, like the porn industry is having huge conventions and getting worse every year, and so they're saying, they're preaching empowerment, and you think that's great, but what actually happens to the culture is that it gets unraveled, it goes backwards, and you get the results are exactly the opposite of what they're saying. Like this anti-Hitler video that causes a lot of controversy, or YouTube doesn't really like it, but I keep going back to it for perspective, and I think a lot of it is true.
I think we have a right to preserve our culture and our people.
Ah, that is racist. So you believe you are God's chosen people? Some kind of master race? That just reminds me of the brown shirts in the 30s.
I'm not racist, but if this process continues, we'll be a minority in our own country.
Stop whining. Go and have more Jewish babies if you are so concerned.
Hold on, Hitler. Israel is being overrun with non-Jews because of your open border policy. It won't matter how many babies we have. We will still be a minority in our own country. Your policies will have destroyed us.
You Jews need to lighten up. Multiculturalism is great. Look at all the wonderful new restaurants you have to eat at now. Diversity is good. Diversity is a strength. Diversity is what makes the Middle East so peaceful. And diversity is saving Israel.
Hitler, is this your new rainbow dating organization?
Of course. These days I'm all about the love.
You're just the same old Hitler, an anti-Semite trying to erase the Jews.
That's nonsense. How can love be anti-Semitic?
But you are...
See, that, that's what I was saying. That they preach one thing, but the result is actually the opposite. And we hear BBC Radio drops Michael Jackson songs, and 10 undeniable facts about Michael Jackson abuse allegations, and because of that whole investigation there, I would say that would be a step in the right direction. It's the least you can do. Get all this out of pop culture. Politics are downstream of culture, so just basically flush it all away. Don't remember it was there, so it won't start happening again. Or the Orwellian memory hole. Don't flush it down the Orwellian memory hole. Just make sure that history books talk about it, mention it, and they're still trying to go after Trump, and they're using all their resources, and they're all in lockstep. They're goose-stepping to this tune that was established by the Kavanaugh Circus, and to try to get rid of Trump, and really we're not having it. So we got to fight back, and this is how the culture war rolls on.